sunlight is a nutrient. I would argue it's a nutrient as important as your food. Hi, I am Dr. Kelli, and I help people with chronic anxiety find lasting recovery. And I do that through sometimes traditional ways, but mostly through nutrition and quantum health strategies. So a little bit different than all of my training. So even though this is not medical advice, I do help people with some strategies that can be really helpful, all 100% natural. So, I gave a talk recently about ancestral living in modern times and really living in harmony with our natural environment. And afterwards, a woman came up and talked to me, very lovely woman, and said, I'm not really the outdoorsy type. And I was like, you do not have to be the outdoorsy type to actually be in harmony with your natural environment. We are nature. So it makes sense for us to be in harmony with our natural environment. And in my talk, we were talking about the different pillars, and I was a part of well, we didn't really do it as a panel discussion, but there were four of us talking about different pillars. And my pillar was nature, mainly because I wanted to talk about sunlight. And sunlight is a nutrient. I would argue it's a nutrient as important as your food. Now, I can talk about food all day long. It's my favorite subject. I love mental health nutrition. It is where I get really lit up. And I have seen miraculous things happen for people, particularly in mood and anxiety recovery, when people start to understand the food mood connection. So I could talk about that all day long. I have courses on all of these things. But what people tend to miss are the quantum health strategies. And really, that's just, people are like, what does quantum even mean? Well, for me, quantum is the smallest of things. So the smallest changes we can make that have the biggest impact in our health, but also what's happening on a cellular, even subcellular level inside of us. So we can look at the emerging science of applied quantum biology. Quantum biology is really interesting, different from quantum physics a little bit, but also I'm interested in the applied part. I want to know, what can we take from this emerging science that can help us, not just with mood, but with optimal health? And so, one of the things that you learn if you work with me is that light is really important. So, the light outside of us, not just the light that we can see, but all the light we cannot see. And that light influences the light we make inside of us. And I think that's where I get the most excited, is because you and I, we have a light show going on inside of us. And when we tend to that, our inner healing, or the work that we do now from a counseling perspective. So all my degrees are in psychology and clinical mental health. My doctorate is also in counseling. So I was a professor in counseling, and I would, 100% on board with the inner work being in some of the traditional sense of that. Having a therapeutic relationship with somebody who can really hold space for you so that you can do that inner work, you can do that kind of digging. I have a course called Sacred Chrysalis. That's what all that is about. That's amazing. And what I found is that the quantum health strategies really move the needle more than anything else that I've ever tried. So if you don't have some of the basics dialed in, that's probably what you want to do, is get to some of the basics. If you've been doing the inner work and you found your way to gut health, metabolic health, nutrient deficiencies, because sometimes nutrient deficiencies can really make a huge difference in your mental health, more than people can ever realize. So if you've been addressing all those things and you're like, I'm still feeling chronically anxious, or like many of my clients, they're on we call it depression, anxiety roller coaster. And so it's just sometimes you get worn out from all the anxiety, and then your body finally crashes, and then you feel more depressed. So that kind of roller coaster, a lot can happen nutritionally that can make all of that much, much better. So those are solutions. So healthy protein and fat can make blood sugar regulation a steady blood sugar regulation, which can really help with mood. So it's in a way it solves the problem, but it doesn't actually work on a cellular level or even a subcellular level. So often people will still feel chronically anxious, or they still feel like they're on the roller coaster. It's just not the highs and the lows as much. So you're managing with protein and fats and some of the nutrition, but you're not actually healing on a cellular level, because chronic anxiety is also a sign of lost energy. And on a cellular level, your mitochondria don't have the inputs that they need in order not just to make energy, but make the water that's made it. We're mostly water by molecular count. And so we become cellularly dehydrated. Well, when that happens, your body is going to give you symptoms. And one of those symptoms is very frequently anxiety, or what we would call anxiousness. So that kind of unease inside of us where you just feel anxious all the time, often overthinking things, worrying, chronically worrying, but also feeling brain fog, not feeling like you're wired, but yet you don't actually feel like you have the energy to do the things that you want to do in your life. All of that, also a sign of lost energy. So all the talk therapy, which I love, been a part of it for a long time, that's not going to address that. Even nutrition, unless you're doing some quantum nutrition stuff, that's not going to completely address the issue. So light is a big piece of that puzzle. Light, water, earth, or magnetism. So earthing, being in harmony with our natural environment. Then also food and breath, because breath is life. So we can look at that from other perspectives. But from a quantum perspective, we're really looking at light, water, and earth, or magnetism. You are an electric being first. So if we don't tend to our electric body, then we are missing a big piece of the picture. And doing so, you can biohack it. I have a free biohacking course because I love the biohacking, and people ask me every single week. I get questions about, like, can I biohack the earthing? Can I biohack some of the other stuff for light and water? Yes. And I'm happy to do that. But don't forget that it's really simple stuff, and it's all free, mostly free in nature. So the light, the water, and the magnetism or earthing, you can do that for free, and nothing really ever replaces what nature can do. So yeah, we like the biohacking stuff, sure, but nature already has it. So being in harmony with your natural environment, eating the foods that are grown in season and locally for you is part of that. But mostly I'm talking about being outside with bare skin, touching the earth's surface, being in the light. You want to do that safely. Sun exposure, it doesn't even have to be sunny day. Most people like it doesn't have to be direct sun. In fact, I prefer to be in the shade, but without sunglasses. Now I know I'm going to get a lot of comments from people that are like, I can't go without sunglasses. Some people can't. Okay, people, very attached to your sunglasses. I'm not trying to steal them forever from you. I just want you to understand that the light sensors in our eyes are very important, and the light outside of us influences the light inside of us. And the natural light exposure is really important for our circadian rhythms, which influences almost every single function in the body. You have a master clock in your brain. It's called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, but you also have clocks in the cells in your body. So if all of that is off, then your body doesn't know when to make which hormones, when to make which neurotransmitters, when to release those things. It gets all kind of skewed and chaotic inside. And guess what can happen? Anxiety, right? Then we get what we think are mental health issues when really, and they can be, because it can be related to trauma. I'm not saying that, there aren't, that the classic way we used to think of that isn't useful in some way. But in all of my years, I have almost, what, 30, oh my gosh, like 35 years or something. I've been working in the field of mental health for a long time. And I can tell you that this was the missing piece. Like, we could get people much better, and their baseline would be better, but people would still struggle a lot. And I thought nutrition was going to be it. Like, this is it: gut health, nutrition, metabolic health, nutrient deficiencies. And it does make a huge difference. It does help. And this is the last little piece. So if you haven't done a lot of inner work, unpacking the things that are important in your life, that work is also very important. Self-love, I did not think that was important. I mean, I was like, yeah, okay, that's good. It's actually a key ingredient to chronic anxiety recovery. So all that's important. But if your body, your electric body, does not have the inputs that it needs, if your mitochondria don't have the inputs, then you're not going to have the energy and the water, and your body's not going to be able to move those electrons through the body the way that it is efficiently made to do. So then you're just going to have a sluggish, chaotic system that's got, all the cues are off. So if you're interested in these things, head to my website, check out some of the free resources first. That's a good place to start. We have an anxiety recovery toolkit that's only $7. That's a good place to start if you haven't already started. And then just kind of poke around at the other programs and things that we have going on and see if that resonates for you. And if you have tried everything, I'm telling you, this is the place that you want to be. So welcome. I'm glad that you're here. Please share, like the videos if they are helpful and you think it could help somebody else. And just know that there is nothing that replaces nature. And yet, you don't have to be the outdoorsy type to be in harmony with your natural environment. Be well, friends.